I'm Thiago Bonfim. I'm working at Avenue Code, and today I'm going to talk about Sequelize, an ORM tool for Node.js environments. The agenda of this presentation is first making an introduction and defining ORM concept, and then I'm going to talk about specifically about Sequelize, and then I'm going forward with a step-by-step instructions to use this library. And the first step is installing, then connection, models. Inside models, we're going to see data types and getters and setters. Also, we're going to talk about validation, the finder methods, instance, association between tables, hooks, raw SQL, DB synchronization, and finally a conclusion, learn more, links, and a challenge for you. So, for better understanding of this presentation, I hope you have some intermediate level on JavaScript, some notions of database and relational database, and notions of Node.js environment. So, ORM means Object-relational mapping. These kind of ORM tools are tools that provides a layer between your application and the persistence layer. It works between your database driver and your application. And to doing that, you will avoid to worry with lower level details, and you will avoid also to write raw SQL. So a query like this will become something like this in a JavaScript context. ORM solutions is a node concept, and there are lots of already working commercial solutions. Here I'm just pointing AJB and Hibernate for Java, Doctrine for PHP, and ADO.NET, just for information. So Sequelize is a library that provides this layer between your application and your persistence database. This is the definition that its creators chose in the website. And Sequelize is a library that is entirely written in JavaScript. So it means that you can use it on a pure Node.js environment and also in another environment. And it supports for database, MySQL, SQLite, PostgreSQL, and MariaDB. MariaDB, if you don't know, it's a community fork of MySQL. So the first step when you want to use Sequelize is to install. You can run the npm command to install Sequelize. Here I'm using the MySQL instruction also, just to say that you need a database to make it work. And after the installation, you have to include Sequelize inside your application by requiring it, like the code shows. Once installed, you need to set a connection. There are two ways to connect on Sequelize. The first is by calling its constructor that need a database name, a username, a password that is optional, and an options object. And there is a lot of stuff that you can configure in this option object, like in this example, I'm showing how to change the host and the port of your database connection. Also, you can set some validations and some naming conventions. If you have already working database, it can be useful. And also you can connect by using connection string that I have here an example when you are connecting to MySQL on the port 9821. And also you can pass that options object. If you want to go deeper on these options, you have to check the documentation. So once you're connected, You have to define models to your application. And models are representations of tables inside your application. Here I have an example where I am defining a model for book. As you can see, we are just worried about business. You don't have to worry about like creating indexes and things like that. Sequelize will make it for you, and also it will provide you the getters and setters methods automatically generated for every property here. And also, when defining a model, you can set options on each column. Here I have a list with some options that you can set, but again, if you need more than this, there is more things that I'm showing here. On the first example, I'm just telling that the flag does not allow null, and there is a default value for the field that is true. The second example, I'm telling that this value, some unique, is unique. Also, on ID, I'm telling that it's a primary key. Then I'm setting an auto increment to a field and a comment that only works for MySQL and Postgre. So inside models, for each attribute, for each property that you have inside a module, you have to define which data type is from that property. So we have a lot of stuff already done. Sequelize, and again, there is more than this. I'm using just some options to show that there is more than this. And also you have to take care because there is some specific database values here that will behave different on different databases. For example, the array that just only works for Postgre SQL. So even with Sequelize creating for you the getters and setters, you can define your own getters and setters functions. And you can do this in two ways, two different ways. The first is defining in a property level that when you are defining a property inside a model, you just add the parameter get and set, and this function will be evaluated every time you call this method. And also you can do that by setting it on model level. When you have a third parameter, there is an object that you can pass the getter methods and setter methods, and inside you define for each property you want to set on getter and setter, you do the same thing as above. One important thing that you have to know when defining getters and setters is that Sequelize provides helpers to avoid you missing values or making some mistakes especially when working with concurrent access. So when you are defining these methods, it's highly recommended that you use the methods get and set data value, where you say which property you are getting or setting. So Sequelize will protect the data for you. So also Sequelize provides a lot of validations that you can make to your models. Again, you can define it in a property level, as I'm showing here, pressing the validate option. And you can make it on a model level. In model level, in this case, is especially useful because when you need more than one value to evaluate if that entry is valid or not. On this example, I'm defining a model contact that have two fields for address. And when you validate, you have to have at least one of these values fulfilled. So if not, you throw an error and validation will fail. Also, you can, there is a lot of built-in validators, and Sequelize provides a lot of interesting things here, especially range things. There's a credit card validator. So again, it's just a little bit of the options of built-in validators that Sequelize provides. And finally, you can create your custom validators. Uh, in the same way that you can use this as a property or as a model or on model level. And you just have to implement that function. On this example, I'm checking if a value is even or not. If not, you throw an error. And also you can create custom error messages for built-in validators, as I'm showing here for the int validator. So once your data can be stored inside modules that are tables, it's time to get your data back, to access your data. So Sequelize provides methods that they call finders that will allow you to retrieve and manipulate the data inside your database. And the first method that I'm going to show is the find method. It's very easy to understand. It will return a single entry in your database, and you can pass a specific already know ID in this case, for example. And also, it's important to say that the finder methods will return promise objects. So every object will return will have the success and the error callback. And in this case, the success callback will receive the project that I'm retrieving here. Also, you can use the where object that will filter the values for you. And again, you can select some attributes, and also you can rename some attributes. In this example, I'm finding every project that had the title A project, and I'm retrieving the attributes ID and title, and I'm saying that title will be named. So on my callback, I can access project.name, and it's going to be the title. Another useful method is find or create. This method is different because it checks if it already exists that entry on the database. If not, it will create for you. And here I'm creating a user. And you can note that on the success function, you receive the user and another flag, another parameter that is the created parameter. This is a flag that says if you created or not a new instance for you. Find and count all is a especially useful method that will return an object with two properties. One of the properties is the total of instances that you retrieved, and the second is an array with the collection of the records that you retrieved. And also you can use the where condition, and you have on the success callback, you have the result object that you have the count in the rows. That is this property that I told. Find all method will search for multiple elements in the database. Here on my example, I'm just showing that you can have a lot of stuff to build your where condition. So here I'm telling that the ID is greater than 6, less than 1, even if it doesn't make sense. That it's not 20, it's between a range and not between another range. This is just an example with the things that you can do on the where object. And also you have these 4 methods that are very basics. It's like the SQL method instructions that you already have. And the count, max, min, and sum that just do what its name says. So To set data to our models, you have to have instances that are the representation of one model with data. So there are actually two ways to create an instance. The first is the method build that will create for you an unsaved object. So you have to take care that if you want to store these values, you have to call the method save them. The second way to create an instance is to use the method create that will create and store the instance for you. And again, on the success callback, I'll have the object that I created. Also, an interesting thing that you can do that is that you can define which attributes you're gonna set. On this example, I'm telling that I'm only saving the username, so the isAdmin property will not be saved. Okay. The method saves, just save, and again, you can set the properties you want to save. It can be used to update your instances, even if you already have an update method, and it's applied to the instance itself. The update can be called for the entire model. Update attributes is another way to update instance values, and as above, you can set the attributes to save. To destroy your data, you have the method destroy that will delete an object of the database, an entry from the database, and it can be used to destroy books of registries. So when you call it on the model level, you can pass a filtering parameter. In this case, I'm deleting all the tasks with the subject programming, and on the success callback, I will have the affected rows that tell me how many instances were deleted. And we have methods that work with multiple instances. That is the book create that allows you to create multiple instances in your database, and the update that the first object will you say what you're setting, and the second is the filter. So in this case, every task with subject programming will have the status updated to inactive. So again, you have on the callback the affected rows parameter. So when working with relational database, one of the most important things is about association between tables. Now I'm talking about models. So you can, using Sequelize, you can specify association between multiple models or modules, and you don't have to worry about the control of these relations. So it will create for you the index that you need, or even the join table when you have n-to-many, many-to-many relationship. And Sequelize provides support for one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many associations. One-to-one associations will connect one source to a target, and we have the methods belong to and has one to help us with this kind of association. I'm showing here that user and project example where you're telling, after the definition of the models, you're telling that project has one user. By saying that, you already have a relation. Your project will see the user, but the user will not see the project. If you need this two-way association, you have to call the method belongs to. Then you can see, for a user, you can see which project you are associated with. One-to-many associations is where when you connect one source with multiple targets, and targets are connected to only one source. And for this, you have the method has many. In this example, I'm telling that a project has many users, and I'm telling also that inside project, users will be known as workers. So you can access project get workers instead of get users. Many-to-many associations is the, the most expensive to build association, and is where you connect multiple targets with multiple resources. You're gonna use again the method has many, but you use it two different ways, from project to user and user to project. And when you do that, Sequelize will create for you the join table, and as a model also called in this case project users. And that is the table that will hold this connection, this in its index. So if you want to use an already existing table, if you're using an already built schema, you can just say on the second parameter that you're gonna do this association through the name of the table that you want. Or you can even create a model in your application to add and better know this table created. In this case, I'm creating the user project model that will have the property status and also the IDs from user and project. And when defining the association, you pass this model created the through option. And after doing associations, Sequelize will create for you methods to help to access the associations. So it will create get tasks, set tasks, getters and setters for you. It depends on the association, the plural. And also you have the add and remove helpers to manipulate your association. And finally, you have the method has that will check if that association already exists or not. So another useful tool that Sequelize provides is the use of hooks. Hooks functions are functions that are called after and before events happens on Sequelize. Here we have before and after bool create, destroy, update, and validate. You can define again on a module level or on property level. You just pass the parameter with the name of the hook and then the function that you want to run. And for hooks, that's it. Also, if you are working with an already existing structure, database structure, sometimes you have already built SQL queries like procedures, things to run like this. So Sequelize, and sometimes it's just easier to make a query than creating models and things like that. So Sequelize provides you the method query to make it easy to run raw SQL queries. Now here is an example of how you call the method query. The first parameter is the query itself, and the second is a model. If you want the model to be, the data retrieved to be mapped inside a model that you define, so you set this parameter. The third is an option. Basically, it will tell Sequelize how you want your data back. And finally, the replacements array. That is an array with the values that you use it on your query. Sometimes you use question marks to determine values, things like that. And on the success callback, you have the rows returned by the query that you run. So to synchronize your database with your application, Sequelize provides the method sync. If you don't want to create the database structure, you just have to define the modules you want, define the validations and the associations between the tables. And when you call the method sync, Sequelize will create all the database structure for you. And you can call, here I'm telling this method sync, how to use it, and also the method drop to drop a table. You can call these methods at a model level to create and to drop a table in your database, or you can call it on the Sequelize instance, so it will do it for every table and every model that you created. To finish this talk, first, I want to say that ORM solutions is a must-have for almost every commercial software that we develop. And that's why we have already a lot of commercial stuff for other languages and environments. And also, by knowing about Sequelize, you can see that it's a mature solution, but I think we have to have a better look in another solutions also. Here there are some similar solutions as Bookshelf, that's another ORM, Persistence.js also, and Node.js, and Mongoose, that is not an ORM because it only works for MongoDB, but it does similar to Sequelize in your application. And also I have here a benchmark comparing some ORM solutions. And the red color here is the MySQL module for Node. And the green is Node.js ORM, the purple blue is Persistence.js, and the yellow is Sequelize. It's a performance test. They just made a lot of insertions, reading, and updating deletes. And we can see here that Sequelize is quite behind Node ORM, so it's not the best tool when you're talking about performance. And if you want to learn more about Sequelize, here there are some links that will help you a lot. And first is Sequelize website that have a beautiful documentation and easy to find API definition. And there are also articles in a blog there that show the release notes, things like this. Also, there is a link with a guy that made working on a real life project using Sequelize. It's a very interesting article also. And the last one is this benchmark that I showed you. There's more information there. They even compare with some Ruby solutions for Ruby ORM solutions. And finally, I'd like to propose you guys, I'd like to challenge you guys to install Sequelize and build an application creating 3 models with at least 3 attributes. And after, create some associations with these models you created, at least one to many and one many to many. Create multiple instances with sample data just to do the next step, that is retrieve that data using the finders. Finally, destroy your instance and send me your solution in a GitHub repository. So that's it, guys. This is my talk about Sequelize, and thanks for watching.